Greetings internet, it's Monica, and today I am so excited because I am finally making like an official announcement that I will be attending both BOOKEXPO and BOOKCON. If you're not familiar with these events, they take place typically in New York City, and they are both an industry and fan conference for books. I've attended both of these events over the past 4 or 5 years, and they're always something that I look the most forward to during the entire year. I've been excited for BOOKEXPO 2018 since last year, so I am just so hyped that it is officially May, which means that it is the month of BOOKEXPO and BOOKCON. In my video today, I will be talking about my top tips for people who might be attending BOOKEXPO or BOOKCON for the first time, although I think the vast majority of these tips you can utilize during most fan conferences. And then I'll also be talking about some of the things I am most anticipating during particularly this year's event. And this video is actually being sponsored by Freeform Books in celebration of the release of Ship It by Britta London. Now, this book has been on my most anticipated list for such a long time. I have been so excited for this book. So in this book, you follow Claire, who is a 16-year-old fangirl, and she writes fan fiction about one of her favorite shows of all time, Demon Heart. And then you also have Forrest, who is one of the main actors in the show. Like I said, Claire writes fan fiction, and one of the things that she loves to explore in her writing is her desire to see Forrest's character and his male co-star in a relationship. So during a fan conference, she's able to ask a question of the cast during a Q&A and asks Forrest about this ship that she has. And it very much so upsets Forrest because from my understanding, I believe he is dealing with his own sexuality, and so it makes him very uncomfortable because he's trying to come to terms with his own identity, and so his response is pretty lackluster, and it leads to a huge PR crisis for the show, and they end up bringing Claire on for the rest of the tour with the cast in order to sort of soothe this PR nightmare that has occurred. But I am very excited for a diverse and nerdy book. Also, just really quickly, I have to take off this jacket because look at how beautiful it is underneath. I die. If you're interested in Ship It, it came out May 1st, so it is out now. So now on to some BOOKEXPO advice. My number one tip for anyone attending BOOKEXPO is to bring a rolling suitcase. You just want something that's carry-on sized, and this is going to save you so much hassle and pain during the event. Basically, if you're going to BOOKEXPO or BOOKCON, more than likely you're going to be leaving with quite a few books. Now, the issue is carrying those books, and it doesn't matter how many tote bags you have, how good of a backpack you have, carrying a bunch of books for hours in the summer is a lot. It gets heavy, it gets painful, it's no fun. You're already on your feet all day. You don't want to add on carrying books all day. So a rolling suitcase is perfect. You can check it at coat check. You could go back and forth and deposit books in throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, instead of having to cart bags of books with you to your hotel or apartment or wherever you're staying, you could just grab your suitcase and roll it to wherever you're going. Now, I know I just mentioned that it's hot and it's summer. However, I would still say bring a cardigan, and that's because the Javits is cold. They pump the air conditioning in that place. It can get really quite chilly, so even though it might be scorching hot out, I still recommend having a jean jacket or a cardigan that you can throw in a tote bag but have with you when you're actually in the Javits Center, because again, it gets chilly. This is also helpful if you're packing and you think oh, it's summer in New York City, I don't need any sort of coat. Bring something. It can get cold. Next, if you are a book blogger, booktuber, bookstagrammer, whatever, if you just want to make sure that people remember who you are, make business cards. Business cards are so helpful. During both BOOKEXPO and BOOKCON, you're meeting so many different people that it can be hard to keep track of names and remember everybody. So business cards are really helpful in just helping other people remember who you are so they can look you up after the event and not have to worry about it during the actual event itself. You don't have to make anything fancy or even pay to print them somewhere else. You can even print them at home and just give them to a select few people if you don't feel like making hundreds of them. I always feel like like there's that one person who's like, oh, I wish I had thought to make business cards every year. And so this is my telling you, if you're watching this, make business cards. My third tip is to remember that it's okay to want different books than the books that your friend group wants, and it's okay to not want the like highly anticipated books. I feel like it's very easy to get swept up in sort of the excitement that everyone else has for whatever book they're really anticipating, but it's okay to you know, say like, hey, I'm not interested in this one, I might go over, you know, somewhere else and get a book that no one else is interested in. And that's pretty cool, because then you get to leave Book Expo with a completely different round of books than what everyone else is going to have. So don't feel any pressure to like follow everyone else around or get the same books as everyone else. You can always meet up with people later. Just make sure that you're getting the books that you know that you'll actually enjoy and want to read after the event. On that same note, remember that it's okay to say no to books, and it's honestly a good idea to try and set a limit for yourself. So I try and set a daily limit for myself where I'm not allowed to take like a certain number of books each day. This is just helpful for me because in no way have I ever left Book Expo and like read all of the books that I had been given during the event. There are a lot of instances where like people will just be standing at a corner and just sort of like handing out books, and you kind of feel bad saying no. Other times I've, you know, again been swept up in what other people have been excited about and like gotten books that maybe I wouldn't have been all that excited for. Or often you're going for one book, they like specifically hand you like 3 others that you like can't say no to. So it's very easy to leave with many more books than what you had intended to go in for. And just remember that it's okay to not get all of the books. It's okay to leave Book Expo without like 30, 50, whatever books at the end. Don't be afraid to sort of put books back or say no to a book if someone offers you one. And if you're worried about regretting saying no to a book, just remember that that book is eventually going to be published. And then my final piece of advice before Book Expo and BookCon is to not be a jerk. For the most part, everyone at Book Expo and BookCon are so incredibly nice and kind and fun. However, there are always a couple people who get really pushy in lines, who are just like very grumpy, either towards other attendees or people who are working the event. And so my best piece of advice for any conference, not even Book Expo and BookCon, is to just take a deep breath. Remember that it'll be okay if you don't get the book that you're most anticipating, if you don't get to, you know, have your book signed by an author that you really want to meet. Like, there are always future opportunities for that, and especially for like pre-release like arcs, like that book is still going to be published. You're still going to be able to purchase that book. It's okay if you don't get it months in advance. So just be patient and kind to other people. Especially remember that the people working there from various publishers, like working events, crowd management, crowd control, like those are typically not their day-to-day job. Like these are just sort of like people who work in marketing and publicity or other areas of publishing and are just sort of like thrown into this event space. And so just remember that, be patient with them, be forgiving, and you'll have a really fun time. So now on to some things that I am most anticipating this year. My #1 book for Book Expo this year is And the Ocean Was Our Sky by Patrick Ness. It is Patrick Ness's new book. He's one of my favorite authors of all time, and this one just sounds super interesting. It is a retelling of Moby Dick from the perspective of the whale. So it's gonna be weird, but I love that Patrick Ness can write weird but also make it incredibly poignant. So I'm really, really highly anticipating this one. I'm also really hoping to get a copy of Pride by E.B. Zavoy, who is the author of American Street, and this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, which is all I need to know. Checks off so many boxes for me. Also planning on trying to get a copy of the sampler for King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. Nikolai from the Shadow and Bone trilogy is everything to me. Like, I remember when Six of Crows was announced, I was so sad. I mean, like, not sad, but I was a little sad because all I wanted was my Nikolai book, and I'm finally getting it. I am a little heartbroken that they're not doing arcs, but I understand why. And typically I hate chapter samplers. Like, I think they're a total waste of money. Like, as a marketer myself, I like don't understand the point, but your girl is hyped for King of Scars, and so I am for sure gunning for one of those chapter samplers so I can get a little taste of what's to come next year when King of Scars finally comes out. And then the last thing that I am anticipating trying to get my hands on during Book Expo is some Harry Potter swag. So the Scholastic booth usually has some like cool Harry Potter related integrations and like things that you can interact with, and then also usually gives out like posters or buttons, pens, and things like that related to Harry Potter. So I'm really hoping to get some of those. I don't know if they'll be like for the Brian Selznick version or the next illustrated edition, but regardless, I'm hyped and I definitely want some HP merch, so hoping that they'll have some of that during the event too. But then other than that, I'm just really excited to see all of my bookish friends and be at the Javits. It's such a fun event. It's one that I, again, look forward to all year round, and I'm so excited that it is finally upon us. If you are attending Book Expo or BookCon, let me know in the comments down below. If you're there and you see me, please say hi. I'd love to meet you. And then inspired by Ship It, I'd love to hear if there was any sort of cast from a TV show or film that you could meet and ask a question of, which cast would that be? For me, right now, it would probably be the cast of Avengers Infinity War, because I have a lot of questions after that. But I would love to hear what cast it would be for you guys, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye!